I still remember the first time I stood on that stretch of land, 40 acres of quiet, rolling fields that had belonged to my family for 3 generations. It wasn't much to most people, just a mix of meadows and old oak trees, but to me, it was everything. My grandfather had bought it after returning from the war, and he'd always said, land is the one thing they can't make more of. Protect it, son. I took those words to heart. So when I returned home after years working overseas, I was horrified to find fences, survey flags, and heavy machinery tearing through my soil. I thought it was a mistake at first. I walked up to a group of construction workers who were driving stakes into the ground and asked what was going on. One of them looked at me with confusion, then shrugged. We're building Phase 3 of Silver Pines Estates, he said. HOA approved. Permits are all done. HOA. I didn't live in any homeowners association. My land was never part of a subdivision. I owned it outright, free and clear. I pulled out my phone and checked the county property appraiser's website. Sure enough, the deed still had my name on it, Thomas Granger. That's when the sick feeling settled in my gut. Someone had made a very big mistake, or worse, they thought I wouldn't notice. I called the county office immediately. They said they'd look into it. Weeks passed. In that time, I watched as concrete foundations were poured, walls were framed, and streets were paved, on my land. Every time I called, they passed me from one department to another. The HOA's lawyer eventually reached out, claiming that their development company had acquired the parcel years ago through a quiet title action. But when I asked for documentation, they couldn't produce it. I drove to the courthouse myself and pulled every record on file. What I found was shocking. A developer had filed a claim, asserting that the land had been abandoned since my grandfather's death. But the claim was fraudulent, because property taxes had been paid every single year by me. The county had made a clerical error, misfiling a notice that I never received. I consulted a lawyer, but she told me something that stunned me even more. Thomas, if you want to make this right, you could file suit right now and get an injunction to stop construction, but it'll drag on for years. They'll appeal, they'll delay, and meanwhile, you'll be stuck with half-built homes and lawsuits from every buyer. Or, she leaned forward, eyes sharp, you could let them finish. Let them invest every dollar they have into improving your property. And when they're done, you pull the deed out in court. You'd own everything, every single home, every road, every structure. At first, it sounded insane. Let them build 96 homes on my land. Let strangers move in, thinking they owned a piece of it. But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. They were so arrogant, so sure they could bully me with paperwork and money, that they didn't even check their own records. So I waited. I played dumb. When surveyors came by, I greeted them kindly. When HOA board members held meetings, I attended quietly, sitting in the back, pretending I was just curious. I watched as they celebrated each completed home, each family moving in, each playground and cul-de-sac. Months turned into years. Silver Pines became a thriving neighborhood, wide sidewalks, manicured lawns, a sparkling clubhouse. 96 homes, valued at over $40 million combined, sitting squarely on land that was legally mine. And then, one day, I decided it was time. I filed a quiet title lawsuit, attaching every tax receipt, every deed, every piece of evidence proving continuous ownership. When the HOA was served, chaos erupted. They called emergency meetings, hired top attorneys, even tried to pressure the county into fixing the issue. But the documents were ironclad. In court, their lead attorney argued passionately that my claim was unreasonable, that it would cause irreparable harm to hundreds of residents. I sat silently, letting them talk. Then my lawyer stood, placed the original deed on the judge's desk, and said calmly, "Your Honor, my client never relinquished ownership. The county's error doesn't negate his legal rights. The HOA built on land that does not, and never did, belong to them." The judge flipped through the papers, frowning. "You're telling me this entire subdivision was built without a valid transfer?" "Yes, Your Honor." The courtroom fell silent. You could feel the tension. Dozens of HOA board members and residents in the back rows, faces pale. When the ruling came, it was decisive. The judge declared that I retained full ownership of the property and that the HOA, developers, and homeowners had no legal claim to the land. They could either purchase the property from me at fair market value, or vacate. The HOA's president, a sharp-tongued woman named Karen Ellis, approached me after the hearing. Her voice trembled with outrage. "You can't do this. Families live there. Children go to school here. I looked her straight in the eyes. You built on land that wasn't yours. You ignored the warnings. You dismissed me like I was some nobody. Actions have consequences. She tried to rally the neighborhood to fight, but they couldn't undo the judgment. Some tried to negotiate. Others sold their homes for pennies on the dollar, unable to bear the legal mess. A few even tried to sue me for emotional distress. None succeeded. In the end, I sold a portion of the land back to a private investor group, for triple its original value. They paid me millions. The rest I converted into a wildlife reserve, just like my grandfather always dreamed. The HOA was dissolved. Their clubhouse became a community center for underprivileged kids. And as I walked the quiet streets one last time, I felt a strange peace settle over me. They thought they could steal from me. They thought they could bury me in red tape. But they forgot one thing. The land remembers its owner. Injustice, though slow, always finds its way home.